Everyone. Usually I like to stay very focused on Canadian news, and I like to stay away from Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is making Canadian news tonight by not including us in a list of countries that he is calling out with regard to ISIS fighters. Here's Donald Trump, quote, at Real Donald Trump says, the United States is asking Britain, France, Germany, and other European allies to take back over 800 ISIS fighters that were captured in Syria and put them on trial. The caliphate is ready to fall. The alternative is not a good one, in that we will be forced to release them, ... Here's the second half of the tweet. Quote, the U.S. does not want to watch as these ISIS fighters permeate Europe, which is where they are expected to go. We do so much and spend so much. Time for others to step up and do the job that they are so capable of doing. We are pulling back after 100% caliphate victory. So we're on notice. ISIS is falling, and where's a good place in the world to go if you're an ISIS fighter and you want to be treated not like the criminal you are and tossed in jail? And it seems like Canada is that choice, at least until somebody else takes leadership and makes it illegal to go and fight for a foreign entity, any foreign entity, and return home to Canada after fighting against Canada with that foreign entity. They could change the law. They changed the law for their business dealings, but they didn't bother to change any laws for dealing with ISIS fighters, instead preferring to integrate them somehow, despite the fact that, again, they were actively in a war zone fighting against Western allied forces. We were spending taxpayer money to fight them, and now we're going to spend taxpayer money to clean up the mess that they're going to make in Canada because we don't have any kind of mechanism to deal with these fighters under the law because Justin Trudeau is incapable of passing any kind of laws that make sense. Yeah, that's terrible. So Donald Trump is calling Canada out by not including us in his tweet, and I find that interesting. Maxime Bernier is getting married, so congratulations, sir. Here's a tweet from Maxime, and I will do a Maxime Bernier tweet roundup. There are a bunch of tweets, but today I wanted to focus on something else, which is the title of the video. But Maxime Bernier is getting married, and the tweet says, quote, Catherine and I are walking towards the future together. We're going to tie the knot this summer. And there's him and his future wife, and congratulations, sir. I hope you guys long life and happiness. I wish you guys long life and happiness. So I want to tell you, dear watcher, if you've been watching me, I have been critical of Andrew Scheer for a long time. For almost a year, I've been critical of Andrew Scheer, since August of last year, maybe before. Yeah, more than a year. And the reason I've been critical is I'm going to show you right here. This tap dance. Evan asks him, dogs him for an answer on, do you support a deferred prosecution agreement? The agreement that was brought in under the Liberals in 2018, the agreement that's causing all the problems with SNC Lavalin because they're trying to use that agreement to get out of their legal troubles. They broke the law, but this agreement that the Liberals brought in, as I said before, it was a finance bill, but they changed the criminal code in the finance bill, making a whole bunch of money laundering, fraud, all sorts of stuff that SNC Lavalin did not a criminal thing if they use these deferred prosecution agreements. So Evan nails Andrew Scheer to the wall, and Andrew Scheer climbs out of his suit and walks away without answering the question. This is why I don't like Andrew Scheer. This is why. This is it. He's as slimy as the rest of them. And so far, and I'll show you, Maxime Bernier has been straightforward with his stance on deferred prosecution agreements as far as I understand it. He talks about this whole scandal as crony capitalism, and we'll get there too, and he frames it as that will stop. So maybe I'm looking for stronger language from Mr. Bernier on this specifically, but at this point in time, at least he's taking a stand, whereas Mr. Scheer is saying, no. The problem here isn't the changed laws. That's a problem that we have to talk about, but the problem here is the pressure on the Attorney General. And to a point, I agree, but answer the question, sir. Answer the question. Here we go. Andrew Scheer tap dancing like the best liberal I've ever seen tap dance. Is that Mark Mendicino? Is that him? Is that Marco Mendicino? No. Oh, it's Andrew Scheer. It's the lead. Okay, here we go.
Everybody. They lobbied key members of the Prime Minister's office, key members of the government. But in May of 2018, They also lobbied you. So when you were lobbied by SNC Lavalin, by the way, I know that's perfectly legal to get lobbied, did they ask you, do you support a deferred prosecution agreement? And if they did, what did you say? What's your answer on that?
It was simply a briefing about what was contained in the Liberal government's own legislation. So it was an opportunity for me just to receive that information. This provision was included in an omnibus budget bill. When it was at the Finance Committee, Conservative members of Parliament raised the objection as to why this was being put forward in that way. It very much should have been a justice measure to allow that kind of scrutiny. But regardless of that,
well, hold on, just to be clear, I just want to press back.
What we're talking about here is the interference. The Director of Public Prosecutions was given the tool by Parliament to make the determination as to whether or not SNC Lavalin qualified for this new arrangement. She determined that they didn't, and that's when the political interference is alleged to have happened.
So I want to point this out. He's changing this subject from this isn't about the mechanism, the tool that Parliament gave to SNC Lavalin or gave to the prosecutors to use. The problem is not that tool. We're not going to talk about that. And he doesn't talk about it as corruption. He doesn't talk about it as allowing or even as a criminal code change, or even that they should have debated it in the House as a criminal code change. Should we allow companies to bypass the law by paying money to the government? Should we change all of these laws that if you're a company, you get to just pay a fine if the Attorney General agrees, or if the public prosecutor agrees? And if the public prosecutor doesn't agree, and if the Attorney General doesn't agree, and you have the Prime Minister's phone number, you can just get the Attorney General removed and have somebody else put in as the Attorney General, and then have your case rerun, right? Rule of law, everybody. We know the rule of law works in Canada, right? 100%. So I'm just pointing out that he is redefining what the question was. And the question was, are you in support of a deferred prosecution agreement? Well, whatever tool they can give and use, and, but the real problem here is the political interference, the pressure. Sure, Andrew, this is why I can't get behind you. It would be a lot easier to support you and say, yeah, man, that Bernier guy's nuts. Vote Andrew Scheer. He'll get Trudeau out, and he'll make Canada great again, or at the very least stop the bleeding. But I don't even think you'll do that, Mr. Scheer. I don't think you'll do that. So back to your non-answer. We were at whatever tool they use, or whatever, 5:30.
So whatever tool Parliament gives to judges, to prosecutors to execute justice, we have to leave the ultimate decisions up to those independent agents of our justice system. The allegations of political interference is where this whole scandal is focused on and centered on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me just ask you, though, do you support the use of deferred prosecution agreements? Do you support these kind of instruments being used?
Again, it's up to Parliament to decide what tools to give to public prosecutors and to judges. What I don't support is any interference where when a company or an individual doesn't get the verdict it wants, leaning on elected officials and politicians to pick up the phone and exert pressure to get those decisions reversed. If SNC Lavalin or anybody else in Canada has an opportunity to make their case, and they do so, and an independent judicial agent, in this case the Director of Public Prosecutions, and then the Attorney General of Canada decide that it's not appropriate, then that's where it has to end.
Does this, in your view...
So let me paraphrase. He's just fine with the Parliament passing criminal code changes through a budget bill, omnibus bill. That means a package bill. This is a budget bill plus a couple of criminal code changes. Just sign it. Otherwise, you're expressing non-confidence in the government, and we're going to eject you from caucus unless you sign it. So sign the budget bill that we've also changed the criminal code. No problems about that for Mr. Scheer. No problems about the difference in potential access for big companies like SNC Lavalin to have money to bribe international companies to access the laws that have been changed for them. And I've got a link, and it's not in this video, but it's in the last videos, the last 2 or 3, where SNC Lavalin actually got their case to be held up while the criminal code was being changed to allow this mechanism to be put in place. And so that's all fine. No problems for Mr. Scheer. The problem happens when the Prime Minister exerts pressure on the Justice Minister, the Attorney General, in order to pressure an outcome in that case, positive or negative. Go after my enemy or help out my friend, one or the other. Doesn't matter. Apparently, that's the line Mr. Scheer is hanging his rule of law hat on. I find that so interesting, right? If someone or a corporation has an opportunity to make their case and they do so, that's where it has to end. And the Attorney General weighs in and the public prosecutor, that's his line. I find that position untenable. I wish I could support Mr. Scheer. I can't. And here's why. Maxime Bernier on February 12th, when this was really heating up and breaking, this is in response to Jody Wilson-Raybould resigning from the Trudeau cabinet. And Maxime Bernier says, let's get to the bottom of this, but let's not forget the bigger picture, the subsidies, contracts, legal privileges, and favoritism that are the normal state of affairs in Ottawa. Crony capitalism is at the root of this scandal. Nothing will change unless we address it. And he goes on, and I've got this out of order a little bit, but this is the definition of crony capitalism, and this is from the February 15th, and it says, 1. What is crony capitalism? Crony capitalism is an economy in which businesses thrive not as a result of risk, but rather as a result of money amassed through a nexus between a business class and the political class. And there's a Wikipedia link. You can read it for yourself. Link is in the description. And number 2, the second tweet in the thread is, this is done by using state power to crush genuine competition and handing out permits, government grants, special tax breaks, or other forms of state intervention. And all caps, the problem is crony capitalism. Maxime Bernier doubles down further on which day is this? The 15th as well. He says SNC Lavalin received at least $2 billion from federal export agencies since 2002. Close ties between businesses and government breeds corruption. A People's Party of Canada government will privatize Export Development Canada and stop guaranteeing its loans. Crony capitalism is the problem. And the final tweet I'll show you is, both LibCon wings are focused on who said what in SNC Lavalin scandal. Both want you to believe that this is the heart of the matter and forget that one bunch of pandering politicians or another makes no difference. I focus on the real problem. Crony capitalism is the problem. And I agree with Mr. Bernier. And as I said, man, it would be a lot easier if Mr. Bernier were the leader of the Conservatives, or who knows, maybe Mr. Scheer folds his Conservatives into the People's Party. My tongue is firmly placed in cheek there, but in that I don't think that's a realistic option. I was just trying to make either Mr. Scheer or Mr. Bernier guffaw a little bit. But my point is the same. I don't think there's reconciliation on the timeline. And Mr. Scheer, I'm sorry, was asked a direct question multiple times, and he really did sound like Marco Mendicino in that he had his answer definitely played out. His answer was redefine what the question was and what really we're going to talk about, right? It's like somebody asking you, is that chair comfortable? Or is that chair red? And you say, you know what we really need to talk about is this chair comfortable? That's the real question here. And sure, that may be a pertinent question, but it's not the question you were asked, right? Is the chair red? No, it's comfortable. I don't care. Is it red? So, and regardless, it's just an example, but answer the question. And you answered a lot more than you think you did in your final statement, right? Like your final statement was basically whatever tools that the parliament decides to give. Mr. Scheer, I want to find out where you stand, because where you stand is where your government will go in their direction. And Mr. Trudeau did not give us firm stances on most things. He had lots and lots of platitudes. He talked around things. He didn't say anything while saying a lot of words. And that sounded a lot like you in this interview. And Evan gave you every single opportunity to answer the question. And you refused. And not only did you refuse, you used the same tricks as the Liberals. Maxime Bernier, and honestly, I've had a video itemizing why I don't trust Andrew Scheer, and I didn't want to put it together because I thought it would just be unfair, and I didn't want to be unfair. But after seeing this video, I might do it just because there's so much that you're getting wrong, Mr. Scheer. There's so much, and I just don't get it. I don't understand. Like, answer the question. Do you support a deferred prosecution agreement? The real question is, should there be pressure on the AG? No. Everybody knows the answer to that question. Everybody knows that. The real question here, sir, is do you support this snuck-in change to the criminal code? And if so, why? Because it sounds like SNC Lavalin had a much different meeting than you did when you just got the briefing on what the Trudeau government had done. You're a part of government, sir. You know what the Trudeau government has done. I read it in the bill C-74. I can CC it to you if you'd like. You needed a briefing from the biggest Quebec construction firms in Canada? The biggest construction firm in Canada? To know what the Trudeau government had done? What's your job then, sir? Right? Frustrating. So, thank you for watching. Sorry if I am being unfair to Mr. Scheer, but man, answer the question, right? Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the People's Party of Canada.ca, and congratulations again, Mr. Bernier. Really. Very exciting 2019 for you. Very cool. Okay, have a wonderful evening. Tomorrow's Family Day, right? Woo! Thanks for watching.